Good evening, everyone. Greetings and love. I am Marcia with Gnoshery Libertas, and you are joining us for Sanctuary, episode 59 on Monday, March 20th, 2023. We are celebrating spring equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere today, and we are moving through this new moon in Aries energy, which I don't claim to know about on an astrological level, but I do tune in to the energies of what Spirit, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, whatever name you want to place on the actionable part of all that is God source energy that both moves through us and also guides us simultaneously. And each week we get together here on Sanctuary with live guests who are out there. Hello, everyone. And for those also listening in the replay, and that is to receive a light transmission from Spirit and to be open to hear Spirit's perspective, which is the kind of higher, wider, deeper perspective that's not coming from our linear human lens on not only what's going on in the world around us, but what's going on in the world inside of us within our interior realms. And so every week, Spirit will offer me through meditation and prayer a theme or a light transmission. And this week, the theme is Adapt, Adept, meaning where are we being asked to be flexible, to be able to move and flow with the shifts and the fluctuations in life, both individually and collectively? And specifically, Spirit referring to us, as Spirit always does with this play on words, as adepts, spiritual adepts, the ones who have made the choice to grow in our communion with the all that is, this calling to consciously serve the Creator in all of our thoughts, words, and deeds, what we might call a conduit of the divine. So within this light transmission of adapt, adept, we're going to be feeling into this flexibility and what are these supporting energies that Spirit's offering us right now so that we can adapt successfully and thrive rather than feel like we are overwhelmed and in a place of suffering. And so some of the supporting energies coming through are going to be that of divine devotion and the resting place. Spirit's also going to speak to the law of truth being enacted right now, and that humanity is experiencing a genetic refinement project on a multidimensional level. And this is not the first time we have experienced this on a what we would call maybe third and fourth density level, but we are experiencing it now through the eyes of beauty, through the eyes of Spirit, and through the divine intervention of whatever might be occurring on those levels. And Spirit is saying that this is bringing humanity to a crisis, to a forced stop. And this is happening for us personally and collectively in its own various and diverse ways. However, through this process, we are moving into a place of sourced abundance where we are truly finding our way from our core self. So not from the layers that we have adapted to, and not in necessarily the best way, of what the world, the burdens that the world has placed upon us and the programs that we have been brought up with. So before I move into the first supporting energy of this adapt, adept transmission tonight, just wanting to mention that if you are out there and you'd ever like to join us on a Monday evening, we would love to have you. We would also love to have you if you're not able to join us in live on the call, but to have you in our community and to be with us on the replays, as well to receive discounts on the one-to-one private readings and spiritual mentorships. In order to access any of those things, you can go to either one of our community sites. The first is through Patreon, which would be Patreon. www.patreon.com/Gnoshery Libertas. There's also buymeacoffee.com/Gnoshery Cafe, or you can purchase readings directly from Etsy.com/shop/Gnoshery Libertas. I am going to take a moment to go into prayer and connect with Spirit, and I will be back with the light transmission of Adapt, Adept. The very first lyrics that Spirit highlighted within this reading are, "I'm homesick." And this feeling that the soul, our interior realm, is homesick for something real, for something true. And that in order to find that in these chaotic times, we need to have a devotional practice or several devotional practices and commitments that we go to when we need to meet God and our soul halfway. And so the questions to ask ourselves to start off the reading were, what am I devoted to? What am I showing up for? And where might I not be meeting God and my soul halfway right now? So we're very much encouraged from Spirit to make time for our spiritual and devotional practices. And if we don't have those, to ask Spirit to show us what is going to bring us the most joy that we can commit to every day. And it could be several different practices every day. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but it's whatever is bringing us closer to our interior realm and to the source and the spark and the divine spark that lives within us. These devotional practices assist us with clearing our mind of this debris that we're collecting, and it restores our inner peace. And Spirit speaks to this several times throughout the reading that many are feeling overwhelmed at this time. And so meditation in all of its varied forms, whether that be sitting in meditation or creating art, walking in nature, whether that be through prayer, journaling, contemplation, all of this will clear our mind from stress and these unwanted thoughts. And Spirit wants us to know that the human is an energetic antenna, and what we are taking in and absorbing all day long must have release valves in order to preserve our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. So we can pray to let go of the seemingly daunting thoughts or worries or doubts that might be plaguing our minds, and know that these archonic frequencies only have power over us mentally, that we must command our mental domain and make it a space for peace. So through meditation, we will experience this clarity and peace of mind as we connect with divine love and the light of truth and wisdom. Practices of devotion through prayer and meditation are absolutely essential. And I was asked to write this in all capital letters for our inner peace and mental and emotional health at this time. We truly cannot ride these waves without a commitment to our inner devotion. And so Spirit says if things in our life are not working out the way that we thought they would, we can lessen any pain and suffering that we've brought upon ourselves by remembering this advice, that as we pray and meditate or journal between ourselves, our soul, and God, we will receive answers and guidance on our current situations. This is a time to allow ourselves to be free of the limitations of the mind, to observe the energies that might be overwhelming us or pushing us out of balance, beginning once again to feel connected, and as we do, to follow our inner guidance without resistance. However, through the disconnect alone, we begin to understand our innate connection with the divine even more than before, and this brings greater meaning to our devotional practices as well as our sacred interior space. So before I move on to this next supporting energy of the resting place or the resting tree, I will open up the floor. The very first lyrics here were, she lit a fire and now she's in my every thought. And it was this feeling of the Holy Spirit consuming us and taking over those thoughts that Spirit was speaking to, the ones that limit us in what we are here to do. And so really asking the Holy Spirit to light a fire within us. And once again, Spirit bringing us back to this energy of being too frenetic. In fact, Spirit says here, consider if you are so frenetic that all you can think about is how stressed or overwhelmed you are. Running around and overdoing only makes us into a human doing, and we lose our true sense of what it means to be a human being here on this planet. This is a sign to be careful that we might be succumbing to physical illness, exhaustion, or fatigue, or Spirit says at the very least, remaining at a vibration which is making it very difficult for us to enjoy our life. So we're encouraged to now be still Once again, it's time to pray, to meditate, to contemplate, to reflect, whatever word speaks to your heart, but to take time out where Spirit says that we will regret it later. This is a wild ride that we are on. And all the things that we are trying to manage in our lives will be there when we're ready to move forward again. And we'll be moving forward with that quantum spark, with that quantum charge, and so much more energy to move forward again. And Spirit says, then and only then will we have a clearer head from which to think. So, this idea of pausing, this idea of having devotional practices, because this next energy, specifically the next 3 months, Spirit spoke to this within the next part of the reading, which was the law of truth enacted. And the lyrics here were, I've been falling for lies, but I'll be all right. And this feeling that humanity, the collective at large, and ourselves, individually and personally, we may have been telling lies to ourselves that we were unaware of until this moment. But this is the time of great revelation where humanity itself begins to wake up from its slumber and some of the lies that it has been accepting as truth, while knowing in its core and in its gut that those things are actually not true. So, this law of truth being enacted and crow energy actually coming forward to teach us to walk our truth, to walk our talk, and to find congruence between who we say we are and who we really know ourselves to be. This energy that we're experiencing right now insists that we must speak truth and that we create truth rather than searching for it, and that we bring this truth to every situation that we're finding ourselves in. And Spirit says, let's be clear. This is not an individual truth. This is the quiet, still pause in which we allow the divine to reveal the truth with a capital T through us. And those of us who sit in that space, we know that it is paradoxical, that what is true for the divine in one moment might be the complete opposite in the next. And so that is where the ego must step aside. The personality self must become the servant, because we cannot rely on our individual truth to actually know what is the absolute truth. And once again, we're being reminded to be true to our word. So to remember that our word is our wand, like Spirit spoke in the last call, that it is our magic or our curse. And there is no wiggle room anymore within this next sequence of events. The crow energy arrives when we may have convinced ourselves that what we are doing is right and justified. Now, this could be individually, but it really felt in the reading that Spirit was speaking to this collectively, that humanity has convinced ourselves of something that we are doing is right and justified, and it's going to come to pass that that was not in fact the case. And Spirit says, while this may have been the case in the realm of relative truth, in the higher realm of absolute truth, it is not. So we're encouraged to look deeply into our own hearts, to observe our true motivations behind our thoughts, words, and actions, and to see where we might be trying to convince ourselves of something that actually isn't deeply true for us, where we're maybe massaging something, censoring something, or perhaps we're going along with the crowd. But Spirit said, this is not our highest truth. So do not seduce ourselves with these illusions or these fantasies. This is actually a moment when things are revealed for what they truly are at their core. We are, Spirit says, undressing the layers until all that is left is absolute truth. Before moving into this next supporting energy of this genetic refinement project, I'm going to open up the floor. Spirit speaks to this energy of a genetic refinement project for humanity, and that this is happening on multi-dimensional layers. It is happening with energies that have our best interests in mind, our higher selves, if you will, our souls, but it's also happening at third and fourth density levels, which are trying to actually warp the organic ascension timeline. Now, of course, no one can ever really truly interfere with the creator's plans, that the creator will always use whatever weapon is formed against the human into something that actually builds the human back even stronger. And so we're encouraged to know that even though us sensitives in the world might be really alarmed at this total sensation of knowing that we are moving through a genetic refinement project, that we need to remember, Spirit says that when one person evolves, so does the whole. And anything that was done to harm the human spirit will ultimately only strengthen it. This is a series of events, of consequences from other timelines where fragmentations and polarities are leading us to a singularity on a path of integration. And we are all affected by each choice that we make because we are living in a holographic reality. Every choice that we're making in the weave not only affects our future self, but also who we have been, because time and space are simply an illusion. They are a playing ground for the soul. So we're healing the past and we're creating the future from our present moment only. And when we're walking our conscious spiritual path, when we're showing up to our devotion, we are affecting others with our vibration and frequency at subconscious and also at times conscious levels, because we are delivering and receiving the higher DNA physical and spiritual codings, and we are ensuring the evolution of the galactic human species at its highest, greatest, and deepest level. Everyone's individual evolutionary process significantly impacts the whole. And you'll remember last week on the call, Spirit very much encouraged us to see the light, to bring the divine soul forth within everyone. And once again, reminding us that everyone's individual evolutionary process is significant. We're being asked to fully understand this concept truly at the cellular level and the soular level, and to trust that our conscious actions made with integrity and wisdom will ripple outward and have a greater purpose. We may not be able to see the effect immediately, but we can trust that it is happening and that our actions do indeed impact the greater whole. Before I go into some of the subtle underlying energies at play right now, I will open up the floor. Some of the current energies we might be experiencing on the human personality or ego level right now in this light transmission of be adaptable, adept, is that we might feel like we're being caught between two fires, a dilemma, a test of patience, or a feeling of impotence or dead ends. Spirit also speaks to forced learning here. So that was part of that forced stop, a crisis, kind of making us have to halt our direction. It also speaks to energies of discouragement, defeatism, or this feeling of being in a vicious circle or a vicious cycle. It also highlights false teachings or the false light, as well as being resistant to new things or experiencing pride, anxiety, a feeling of being overly passive or fatigued, or having this feeling that we're cheating out on ourselves or on someone else. The possible thinking within this frequency would be like, this is a disaster. This is a total catastrophe. Everything's collapsing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. I feel like I am completely powerless and none of my actions can positively impact this situation. And so that's where the ego can go when it begins to feel the weight of this burden that we are experiencing as the collective. And yet, Spirit says this forced stop is necessary for our change for the future, but it may feel like it is being forced upon us. And so we have to remember that there's always an antidote. There's always a remedy to some of these heavier energies that we are moving through. And the next energy is that we are divinely connected to the heart of God and we are working with sourced material. This is true physical, material, and spiritual abundance, absolute and ultimate wealth and material well being, uplifted health, internal and external power, the feelings of stability, sensuality, being connected with all of our senses to nature and all that is, continued success, extensive material possibilities, opportunities for professional growth, stable work, promising contacts and contracts, lucrative deals, long lasting relationships, physical attraction, sensual pleasure, and enriching in experiences which lead to even more gratitude and valuable insights and realizations. So, all of that is available to us at the same time that we are moving through this other kind of hanged man type of energy. And with all of this can come this shadow of jealousy or envy, where we think that, we comparing ourselves to something that is happening with another or with a group of others. This insatiable appetite for something more, being difficult to satisfy or feeling ungrateful that nothing is ever enough. As well, Spirit said this could speak to hoarding resources or blaming others for our own life's creations. So the counsel here is to make good use of what resources we have, and we will watch them exponentially expand. Spirit says, no matter how small they may currently seem. So we're encouraged to open our arms wide and to receive these blessings. Additional energies at play right now might be a desire to leave, or this thirst for something new, a thirst for adventure, but not knowing exactly how to get there. And Spirit says we have to tap into courage and be completely conscious of our goals, that this is an affirmation right now of our personal will to succeed. Some of the shadow energies we might be experiencing within this frequency are narcissism, or believing the personality ego self is the true creator of our reality. This leads to a lack of respect for others, to frivolous behavior, as well as this inflated sense of self. But the remedy to this is the affirmation, I have finally found my way. And this is through our connection to our divinity, this devotion that Spirit was speaking to as we work on ourselves and we plan these new projects and birth these new creations that we talked about last week through our courage, our willingness to take risks, and our determination. And here, Spirit reminded us that this is a time of implementation. This can't be just talking or hot air, that we are really truly magnetizing toward us new relationships, as well as renewing some of our old relations, and particularly around mutual goals. And this leads to considerable progress and evolution for all. The consciousness here is the inner disposition should be aimed toward the divine at all times through thought, word, and deed. And once again, some of the shadow qualities being narcissism, megalomania, having a loss of empowerment or control over a situation, a loss of purpose or direction, experiencing many, many hurdles, or a sense of failure. And our counsel here is to do what prompts the heart, that the time has come to part with our past, and we are moving through life with sincere intention and a firm belief that goodness will prevail. The final lyrics in the reading were full stop to surrender. So, as we're moving through this time of this magic carpet ride that Spirit was speaking to, that we're harnessing over the next 3 months, that we're moving through this eclipse season, and I believe it's April, but all of that to kind of bring us to this quantum shift that Spirit is speaking to, and that lifeline, giving us this ability to cleave to our own soul and to our connection with God or Creator or Source, the all that is, through this divine devotion, coming to that stillness, that resting place, and really taking a step back and observing as this law of truth is enacted spiritually throughout the realms. It's being enacted through our personal lives. I'm sure we are feeling it in our own ways. And it's being enacted in the collective, where the veils are lifting and anything that has been a false light is kind of coming out with its pants down. And it's going to happen more and more over the next few years, until the point that the whole show is revealed for what it is. And this leads us directly into this genetic refinement project, which I feel Spirit is going to be giving us more and more information about as time goes on. But the thing to focus on right now is that it's bringing humanity to a crisis, to a forced stop on purpose, so that we can begin being sourced from true divine gnosis and abundance, and find our way from the value of who we are as the child of God, as the Creator's creation. And so through our divine devotion, we strengthen that connection every day, and we become adaptable, we become flexible and able to move and shake, if you will, within the flow and the shifts and fluctuations of life. And we begin to allow life to teach us mastery in every moment, rather than always trying to master life. And so as we bring this light transmission to a close on this beautiful spring equinox, we are encouraged to remember that we are the true adepts. We are the ones who have made the choice to grow in our connection and our communion with God and with all that is, and that this is our calling, our deep cellular, solar purpose, to consciously serve the Creator in all of our thoughts, words, and actions. And I thank you all for gathering here. I know that everyone listening to this recording is in that space as well. And just know that the magic that we create when we come together is far beyond anything that we could ever conceptualize. So thank you all again for coming. I appreciate you all that are out there in the beyond. And I will see you all next week, and those on the call in our after party. Take care and see you next Monday.